Alright, welcome back to the Supercoach Enough channel. In this video we're going to preview round 23 of the 2025 NRL Supercoach season. Planning on making this a fairly quick video, partly because everyone's out of trades, but partly because Supercoach NFL is open. So I'll be recording a video very soon with my initial team. I'll probably post it tomorrow, just give everyone a bit of time to sort their NRL, AFL teams out tonight, and then we'll get stuck into some NFL. Can't wait. But as usual, we'll look at the most popular trade-ins, trade-outs, and captaincy options, and then we'll go from there. So no surprises. The number one most traded out player, Herbie Farnworth, unfortunately, expected to be available for round 27. So um, pretty much the season, if he comes back in round 27 and you held, might be a minor miracle. It might be the people that have run out of trades that would be in that situation. So I think with his money and the amount of weeks left, it does make sense to trade him out. At number two is Josiah Karapani, obviously been dropped. So the 448's a difficult price point. I don't know if there's a lot of cheapies on this week. I suppose if you cash him out to enough, you could then upgrade elsewhere. But if you're trading, say, him and Herbie, for example, you could probably get two keepers. So that's perhaps one way that that's working out as well. Tino at number three, I don't think he's that far away, but I guess if you wanted to use Herbie's money this week to upgrade him as well, makes sense. Jerome Hughes, another one who's pretty much done for the season in terms of Supercoach, so you could trade him. Terrell May on the buy, do not trade. He'll be very handy for the last few weeks of the season. Him and Payne Haas are clearing away the top two front row options. Connor Tracy, so probably won't be back for the rest of the Supercoach season, so he is a trade out. Lehigh has done a shoulder, so probably a trade out at this stage. Kalamatangi's out for the season, so he's a trade out. Isaiah Yeo, not sure. I did hear maybe 3 weeks. So out of all these ones on the list, he is probably the one that you could hold. And King Togia is playing, but I guess we don't really want these middling prices in our team anymore. So you either downgrade to enough or upgrade to a keeper. Speaking of ins, Dan Gagai, number one on the list, so playing fullback, kicking goals at Newcastle. I think even if he reverts to the centres, it's still a good option for your team. Zach Lomax is a keeper, so you could absolutely bring him in if you don't have him already. Jaden Campbell, my man, is on fire and a nice matchup this week. AJ Brimson does have the good matchup this week against South, but word is Keanu Kinney is going to make a comeback in Queensland Cup this week. So give it a week or two, and will Brimson still be in the fullback role, or will he revert to the centres where he isn't as useful for Supercoach scoring? Jacob Kiraz at number five. Yep, keeper. You can absolutely bring him in. Matt Timoko, I think, is a trap. He's scored 2 tons back to back, but they're the only 2 tons he's scored this season. So I don't think it's sustainable. I would not be looking at Timoko. Nathan Cleary, number one halfback in the game. Bring him in with confidence. Aaron Clark is a keeper, dual position. Nice sort of flip with Tino, for example, like that move. Payne Haas, yep, number one front rower in the game. Terrell May might have something to say about that based on points this season. But yeah, Payne Haas is a definite trade in. And Pat Carrigan, I guess a few people looking at trading a Tino to him, or maybe Isaiah Yeo because of that similar profile. The dual position is handy, so it's not the worst shout to bring in Pat Carrigan this week. I'd probably prefer Clark if you didn't have either. But if you've got Clark, you've got Haas, he'd be the next forward perhaps. So in terms of captaincy this week, um, no, not all coaches because some have given up. So the most popular captaincy for this round is Nathan Cleary up against Newcastle. Makes a lot of sense given how good Penrith are and Newcastle sort of struggling a little bit. Jaden Campbell, so targeting that South matchup's been pretty profitable. So I totally can get around that pick. Zach Lomax in the last game of the round. That's usually the easiest time to captain someone. Dylan Edwards, again, very popular pick from Penrith. Tedesco against the Dolphins. I mean, Tedesco can score well against any player, any team rather. So that's fair enough. Jacob Kiraz against the Warriors. Hopefully, some dry conditions this week, and that would definitely help his scoring a bit. Nico Hines, Scott Drinkwater, pretty consistent options around the bottom end of the top 10. So why not? Tom Turbo moving back to fullback, so I do like this as a pod move if you've got Tommy Turbo. Only 14% of the top 10% have him, so that's looking, as a pretty juicy sort of pod. And AJ Brimson as a very pod captain, only 10% owned and 1% of the population in the top 10% backing him in this week. In terms of VCs, so some other options: Munster and Grant against the Broncos. Not sure if that's a holdover from last week, but that should be a good game either way. Pappenhausen as well. Herbie, obviously, a lot of people haven't done their trades yet, like myself. Gagai, I guess, yeah, if you think they can upset Penrith, he'd be a big part of that. But other than that, just same sort of options we've already looked at. So, in terms of my team this week, so just bring Payne Haas in. That's a pretty obvious move. Everything else is looking all right. So, I guess with Farmworth out, Dewey on the bye, Karapani dropped, we are going to use those last two trades. So, Farmworth out, and I guess the obvious replacement is Gagai. We're going to do that. That's pretty well locked in. But then the second move, I'm thinking a couple of different options. Obviously, we could upgrade Karapani. Um, so we can't quite afford Timoko, but we're not keen on him. Ruben Garrick, I mean, can go all right, but, you know, break even of 144 is a bit scary. Not that we're worried about value at this stage. Maybe Nwangani Tawase, although their fixtures aren't the best. So the Dolphins, Bulldogs, and Melbourne in the last five, but they also have Souths and Para, so there's a bit of opportunity there. But I guess given that I'm pretty well out of contention for everything, I am going to go a little bit different. So what we're going to do is Scott Drinkwater out, and we're bringing in Tommy Turbo. So might be a bit risky, but we've got Dewey in next week for the rest of the season. I'm pretty sure these guys are all off their bye. I'll probably be corrected at some stage, but we just like the upside of Tommy Turbo playing at fullback. Again, he's not very popular, only 10% owned, so that's good pod territory for him. So we're loading up on Tommy Turbo. And then, I guess the team is pretty well set. Kurt Donohue's been playing well, but I don't know who he replaces. Like KO Weeks can be a bit up and down, but he's at home this Friday night, so it could be good. Um, yeah, so I mean, I think everyone else pretty well speaks for themselves. So Yeah, we'll play for the upside of weeks. Obviously, Donahue has that solid base. Uh, but I think that's the way we're going to go. Um, just the reserves, I suppose we should have a look at the order of things. So I think the Bulldogs play pretty late, so Presto's the right call there. Um, Cleary's going to be in our captaincy conversation, so he can stay there. Same sort of thing with Campbell. And then out of these three, so Penrith play early, Manly, and then the Roosters. So then in terms of the captain, vice captain, so I think the safe sort of combination is Cleary into Campbell. But now I have Tom Travojevic. Do we go him? He does play fairly early in the round, but it would mean we'd have to forsake Cleary from our thoughts in terms of captain. Might just play it a bit safe, just for reasons. I'm just trying to think if I'm busy enough tomorrow night to keep an eye on it. I don't know. I think I'll just leave it as that. Keep it nice and simple. As we said, we want to get through this nice and quick to get into some Supercoach NFL. So, obviously, if you've got any questions, comments, thoughts about this setup, let me know in the comments below this video. Give us a like if you enjoy the NRL Supercoach content. Subscribe for all the fantasy sports content, including NFL, EPL. I'll put the links to join up with those in the description below as well. Also, the Discord, few people joining that, which is good to see. I'll start doing something in there eventually, but join that as well. But other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.